The MLB season is not even a month old, so it's only fair to look at the recent power rankings that The Athletic posted and see where each team is ranked and if any changes should be made. Are the Dodgers living up to their early season hype? Are the Mets actually on course to surprise many of the doubters? Are the Yankees now your favourite for the World Series? And what is happening in the Bay with the Giants? There's a lot to get through, so let's not waste any time and let's talk baseball. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Let's Talk Baseball. I'm your host, Tom Scholes, and we are going to just keep it really simple today. Incredibly simple. Power rankings. Everybody loves to dissect teams. Everybody looks to see what teams are doing where and how they're ranked accordingly. If you're a fan of a team that is being underranked, you like to be annoyed at them. If you're a fan of a team that is being highly ranked, then you cling on to that and use it as hope that you're actually going to be in for a good ride throughout the season. The Athletic recently on their Instagram page have posted, I believe at the time of recording, it was 7 hours ago they posted this, where it was the graphic of their, of their power rankings that was posted the other day on the website. I've gone through the website and I've looked at the piece they put out. I compared it to the record 2 days after, because as mad as it sounds, 2 days in this sport can be quite a long time. Ask Yankees fans that before the Blue Jay series and currently now. But whilst the action is in full swing, I thought it's only fair to kind of gauge what a lot of people from the outside are viewing some of these teams, and whether I've read the book wrong on them, in my own estimations on them, and just have overshot the mark or have undershot the mark or anything like that. Just have a quick look at them, see who's doing what, see who's performing best early on, and compare them to that. So we're going to start from the bottom. We'll start from number 30. We'll try to talk about as many teams as we can in depth and work our way to the very top, and culminating with why the top team is right to be the top team or why it's not right to be the top team. So starting at number 30 is the Chicago White Sox with a record of 3-15. It's pretty bleak for White Sox fans at the moment. There is more or less nothing to look forward to. There is more or less nothing to be excited for. I think that's a great shame. We've spoken about this on a previous episode about the White Sox, that they've had all hope kind of sucked out of them. And it's quite disheartening to see. As a complete neutral, I've got nothing against the south side of Chicago. And yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. The White Sox, the Athletic piece mentions about the White Sox that the only bright spot, apart from that mad milkshake they have, is starter Garrett Crotcher, who is showing signs that he could be an ace for the Southsiders. As of Monday, the 24-year-old left-hander leads the majors with 31 strikeouts compared to just 4 walks with an ERA of 3.57, just in 4 starts. He's only the third pitcher, according to MLB.com, since at least 1901 to record 30 or more strikeouts and 4 or fewer walks over his first 4 career starts. When you're clinging on to anything, that is pretty impressive. The record has been awful for the team, and you have seen some of the games they have played, and yeah, it's not a team that's built to win at all. It's not even a team that's built to relatively compete. They've got nothing going for them. Same as number 29, the Colorado Rockies, who, with their record of 4-15, again, that's another team where they just seem to be stuck in a rut. They've not really got much going for them in the way of pitching. Ryan McMahon, who is a decent hitter, but he's been one of the best hitters in the National League at the start of the year, but he's not the kind of guy that you pin a lot of hopes on. But you look at that. I mean, the pitching situation in Colorado is weird anyway. The fact that the altitude essentially means it's a hitter's ballpark means that you can't really develop any pitches because the pitches that would work in Dodger Stadium or in Atlanta or in Baltimore wouldn't work in Colorado. And we've seen it many, many times where people have struggled with their pitching up there just because of the way the air is and the altitude, and it's insane. So they're number 29. You can easily put them level with, or even above, the wretched Miami Marlins. They're they're an awful team. They are an awful team. I remember when they played the Yankees not too many days ago, and oh, how can you be a Marlins fan now? I know how you can be because you support the team, you love the team, you're from the area or anything like that. But from a purely competitive standpoint, this team has nothing going for it. This team has nothing. Luis Arias is there, and he's still a good hitter, but he's it. He's it. That is all they have. And the piece in The Athletic says this: we'll be honest, we had a really nice blurb written here about the best player in the Marlins' young season. The guy who owns two of their, count 'em, one, two, three wins. The guy they just sent down to the minor leagues on Monday. So yeah, we like Max Meyer. Miami does not, at least not enough to roster him for the time being with Edward Cabrera back. They're an awful team. Just like the Rockies, they have a 4-15 record. The difference is between the two, the Miami Marlins have kind of self-imploded on themselves in the past couple of months, and they've just been horrendous. And I remember watching them and just thinking, "Oh my god, this team is not good in the slightest. It's not a good team to watch." And as a neutral or someone that is watching them as an opposing fan, you watch them and just go, "Now I'm annoyed at them. I'm irritated by the lack of ability they have. But imagine how the fans must feel with that. Imagine if you are a Marlins fan and you're watching these games going, what you must feel like you're wasting your time. You must really feel like you're wasting your time. The Nationals are 27th, with the Oakland A's 26th. I think that's fairly fair. These rankings are kind of based on current records, any bright spots they have, and also the overall situation around the teams. That's why, even though the Athletics have a 7-10 record, their entire situation is quite dire. So they're not going to be ranked any higher than they are. And I think it's just, you feel sorry for them. You feel sorry for that organization. You feel sorry for that situation they're in because there is no real hope on and off the field for them. So they're number 26. Number 25 on their ranking list is the Los Angeles Angels, who at the time of recording have a 9-9 record, which I think is better than a lot of people probably would have expected them to have, given the off season they had and given rumors about Mike Trout being traded. Um, Reed Detmers is becoming a really good pitcher. Mike Trout is doing Mike Trout things. Um, just a quick thing on Mike Trout. There's been a lot of rumors about his trade and trade rumors and his future within the organization. I just want to say one thing. A while back, I've always looked at Mike Trout and the Angels as kind of like a Harry Kane at Tottenham situation. For any Premier League fans that are aware of this, Harry Kane was by far and away Tottenham's best player and highest goal scorer for many, many years, but he never really achieved anything after a certain point of time with them. They got to a Champions League final without him in the team. They finished second in the Premier League and third in the Premier League many times, but they never got over the finishing line. And then at the end of a period of time, Harry Kane looked at the situation he was in and was saying, "I need to go and win things." He went to Bayern Munich. Ironically, didn't win the Bundesliga for the first time in X amount of years. They haven't done that, but the perception around him was he's too good to end his career with no trophies. I've always looked at Mike Trout in the same way, in the sense that he is, talent-wise, one of the best players this game has ever seen. You could argue he is the best player of his generation. And many people will argue that for his own benefit and his own legacy, that he should be traded. He should leave the Angels. Now, my opinion on this is somewhat different, or somewhat similar rather, to the Harry Kane thing. in the way that he's been with that organization. Mike Trout has been with the Angels for his entire career. And yes, he's not going to win a World Series with them anytime soon, if ever. But there is something about spending the entire career with one team and being loyal to that team. Not necessarily the ownership or the front office or anything like that, but the fans. Because if you lose Shohei Ohtani in one off season, and then before the trade deadline in the same season, Mike Trout is traded away, then all hope is gone. It doesn't matter what haul you get for him, all hope will be gone. And from Mike Trout himself, does he need a World Series ring to really be elevated into that status of greatest player or in the conversation for it? What difference does it make for him doing it now? If he's in the conversation now with the MVP awards he has, what difference does one World Series ring make? That's a genuine question. That's not me devaluing the ring or trying to mean that winning a ring doesn't change your legacy, because of course it does. But for him specifically, does it change all that much? I'm not sure, because he's that damn good that it's kind of like it would be the icing on top of the cake, but it isn't. It isn't the cake itself. So I don't want to see him traded. I mean, if he turns around and goes, you know what, I can't be doing this anymore. I've given everything to this organization and nothing comes from it. He looks at the situation. He's just feeling helpless, and he wants to change. Or he wants to go to Philly. He wants to go, play for the Phillies, or that was a strong rumor at the time, or whoever trades for him. And then, by all means, if he wants that, fair enough. But until that time, he's an angel, and I think he should remain an angel, because his legacy doesn't need a random move to a team where he does a Kevin Durant, for example. If anything, he's another example of a player that went chasing a ring, finally got it, and I don't really think it helped his legacy. Everybody knows he's an amazing player, and everybody knows he's one of the best players to ever play in the NBA, but he chose to go to the Warriors to play with superstars, to win rings, and the perception then became of him, he's ring chasing, he's taken the easy way out. If Mike Trout was to be traded to, I'm not saying this would happen, but hypothetically, the Braves or the Dodgers or the Phillies or the Yankees, he's going to a team in a situation that is set up to win. And I don't have a problem with it, but the perception would be he's gone chasing the ring. And therefore, it would, in the eyes of some people, devalue that ring. I don't agree with that, but in the eyes of some people, it would. So a ring does not make him a Hall of Famer, because he already is one. A ring does not make him one of the best players to ever play the game, because he already is. A ring does not mean he becomes the greatest player to play in this generation, because you'd probably say he is anyway. Again, it's the cherry on the icing on the top of the cake, but it isn't the cake itself. So I hope the Angels perform well for Mike Trout's sake, and I hope Mike Trout performs well, just to remind everybody that just how good he is. A team that does need to remind people how good it can be is number 24 in the Athletic Power Ranking, the San Francisco Giants, with a record of a measly 8-11. Because don't know what's happened in the Bay, I don't know what's happened with San Francisco, but they have not been performing well whatsoever. They're an odd team, San Francisco. You looked at the lineup they have, and you kind of go, okay, well, you've missed on a couple of targets, but you missed on a couple of targets in the off season, but overall you're a pretty good team. And then you see them, and it's just so inconsistent. And I think that's the problem that they have. It's an inconsistency that is affecting them. They've got the talent, but my God, they're a strange team. Number 23, the New York Mets. The New York Mets currently sit on a 10-8 record. I am surprised by the Mets, and I think a lot of people are, because what I think has happened with the Mets is I think people have looked at their off-season work and they have compared it to the rumors that they were linked around. They didn't get Soto, they didn't get Otani, they didn't get Snell, they didn't get Montgomery, and in the eyes of a lot of people, that's bad. That's a failure, and that's fine. If you want to think like that, that's fine. But they have performed to a standard that I think has endeared them to some fans. Is the level of is sustainable? Probably not, but for the time being, they're showing that they're not an awful team. They're showing that they, at the time of recording, have a positive record. Luis Severino's there, Sean Manaya's there, Harrison Bader's been kicking about, Brett Beatty is looking like a good player. They've given Francisco Lindor the standing ovation, all of that kind of stuff. Brett Beatty is the guy that they have focused on in the Athletic article, and I get that. But I'm looking at the Mets and kind of thinking, you know what? The perception of them pre-season was that they're going to be a middling team, lower middle team that's just going to amount to nothing, and they might amount to nothing. Again, this is a very, 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 very early look at the power ranking. But if you have a very, 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 very early look at the divisional standings, which every fan does, they're a half a game back of the wild card, half a game back of the Pirates. So I'm not saying they're going to be there, but I think they're doing better than a lot of people would have had them doing pre-season. 22, the St. Louis Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals currently sit on a 9-10 record. Probably expected, probably about right. Just because you look at that pitching staff, and I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. The offense hasn't been great. It's been a slow start. Not sold on them at all. 10-8 up next, with tied 20th, is the Detroit Tigers. Again, another inconsistent team. They're tied 20th with the Mariners. So two relatively inconsistent teams that have the talent. And you look at their teams, and certainly in the case of the Tigers, it's a lot better than they have been in recent years. And maybe because of the fact that people know it's been a lot better than recent years, they are perhaps not performing as well as people thought they would. But maybe this is about right. Maybe this is about right for the way this project is going at the moment. Them and the Mariners have been okay. Bryce Miller has been amazing for the Mariners. He's got a 1.96 ERA through three starts and has held opposing lineups to a .182 batting average. He hasn't surrendered an earned run since a 3-run home run in the fourth inning of his first start of the season. It's good that he's the one that's kicking off a bit, and he's the one that's kind of helping everybody, because the rest of them haven't. Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Emerson Hancock, not really performing at the level for them. And they'll get better because they're a very good team with talented players. But for the time being, they haven't quite hit the road that people expected them to go. And I think they're in a weird place because they're very talented, but they haven't quite made the jump to be the best team, or certainly the second best team in the AL West. That might come later on in the season, but for right now, I think they're still finding their feet, still trying to get everybody on board and everybody kicking on the same page. Because if that pitching staff and that pitching rotation really comes together and everybody performs at the level that they are expected to have performed at, they're going to be very difficult to beat, and they're going to be a very tricky customer for any decent team to come up against. Another tricky team is the Kansas City Royals, who come in at 19th on this list. They're a very young team, and let's be honest, this is Bobby Witt Jr.'s team. A 1.6 WAR through Sunday's games. He's creeping into the list of the top 25 seasons for a shortstop in Royals franchise history. They asked a question in this Athletic piece: best player in baseball? It's much too early for that, but it's certainly not impossible that Witt is described in those terms at some point in his career. And I kind of agree with that, because he has the lot. He has everything that you would want in a player. He's quick. He's great on the bases. He's great with the bat. He's a fantastic player. Really enjoy watching him. As for the overall record, it's 12-7. They're performing really, really well, and slowly but surely, they're in a weird league anyway. They're in a weird division because the AL Central is historically known for being the weakest of the three in the AL, and you look at it and kind of go, okay, you can see them winning it. And there's three teams in that division that you could kind of make a case for them winning the division: the Tigers, the Guardians, and the Royals. And I think the Royals are probably people's favourite at the moment because of the leap they've made and because of people like Bobby Witt Jr. He's not the best player in baseball at the moment, but in about 3, 4, 5 years' time, I wouldn't be against making an argument that that would be the case. 18, another American League Central team is the Minnesota Twins. Now, the Twins currently have a 6-11 record. No, not good at all. Not good, and I think there's probably some discontent going around with this lineup. It's Again, it's a situation where they've lost some pitchers. They lost Sonny Gray, they lost Kenta Maeda, and just hasn't worked out for them. In the last power rankings, the Athletic listed them as 12, and they are now as low as 18, and that will probably change when they do their next lot. So they're not very good, or at least if they're not hitting the potential that people have assumed they can. They were very good in the postseason last year, but they haven't quite taken that on for this year. Another American League Central team has just made the list is number 17, the Cleveland Guardians, with a 12-6 record. That they're a talented team, but it's making it all click. And this is the case with a lot of teams. And I think the Cleveland Guardians is a perfect example of what is happening. The Cleveland Guardians have a lot of players who are very talented and very good, but they are not clicking on all cylinders, and they will probably end up in the postseason because of the division they're in. As we were saying with the Royals, there's 3 teams in the American League Central that you could argue are going to make a run to win the division. The Guardians, the Royals, and the Tigers, and you could probably throw the Twins in there. So that's 4 teams. 4 teams. Sorry, White Sox, you're not going to win it. That's 4 teams that have a really good chance of winning that division. But that also means that it's a very tight race of who will get into the wild card with a poor record, or who will get into the postseason with a poor record, and who will be second with a poor record. And there's something about that lineup and that division, that division where just not sold on any of them. I'm putting my hat on the Royals to win it because I think they're a very talented team. And when the Guardians play the Yankees, there's some bright sparks. And Jose Ramirez is a wonderful player, absolutely fantastic pitcher, but hitter. Excuse me, don't know why I said pitcher. He's a wonderful home run hitter, but he himself is not enough. And it depends where they are at the deadline. If they're in contention, who knows? Who knows what any of them teams will do? 16th is the Red Sox. The Red Sox currently have a 10-9 record. It's the American League East situation where the Red Sox would probably be the best team in the Central. I don't mean to rag on the Central more than I already have, but 3rd or 4th in the American League East wins the American League Central. And I think the Red Sox are probably in that situation where they're performing better than a lot of people had them coming out of the off-season. A lot of negativity around the team then. A lot of downheartedness, a lot of situations where the fans were like, this season's over, just end it. And they're not doing as badly as people thought they would. And that being said, they might still end up finishing 5th. Not because they're terrible, but because the American League East is so good and competitive, who knows what will happen. So the Red Sox are 16th, tied 14th are the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros, at the moment, have a record of 6-14. If you have noticed that my voice has gone up a bit and there's a little bit more happiness and joy in it, you're right. It's because the Astros are losing. It's because the Astros look terrible. Every year, people say, the Astros don't look like they used to do, but when it comes to the postseason, they're going to be there. They're going to be firing. They're going to be great. Don't think that might be the case this year. I genuinely don't think that's going to be the way it is. They've started off this season poorly. And I know they aren't always fast starters, and they grow into a season. There is something about this iteration of the team that just doesn't hit the same way. Maybe it's because Verlander's not there. Maybe the pitching hasn't been as top drawer as maybe it can be. There's something about it just doesn't hit me. When they opened the season against the Yankees, and I watched it, I'm using the Yankees as a reference point for a lot of these teams because that's who I watch the most. When they played the Yankees at the beginning of the season, you go into that series as a Yankees fan with the traditional, oh God, it's the Yankees in Minute Maid Park. They're probably going to lose, all of this kind of stuff, because you have that postseason PTSD. Quickly, it then became maybe just caught them on a bad day. Maybe it's just a bad day. It was a really good day for the Yankees, but it then became a bad series for the Astros. And you looked at it and just went, something's not quite right. I can't put my finger on it. I can't figure out exactly what it is. And as the season has gone on, you've seen that something isn't right. Altuve's performing really well. Altuve's the guy. He's off to his best start of his career. He's hit, on April 16th, Chandler Rome tweeted, Jose Altuve has 3 straight 3-hit games. He's hitting .403 after 72 at-bats. And then he adds with, that was an absurd at-bat. I can't remember which at-bat it was. But they have been riding off of him. And he, 100% Hall of Fame player. But he is looking every bit of a Hall of Fame player now because he's off to the best start of his career, but because he's the only one really performing in this lineup. So yes, I'm glad they're doing poorly because obviously there's the history behind them, but there's also that mental aspect of if you can go into a postseason without playing them at Minute Maid Park in that horrible postseason atmosphere, you're one step closer to the title, and that's great. 13th, Toronto Blue Jays. 12th, Cincinnati Reds. 11th, San Diego Padres. Now, I've sped through them teams because they are middling teams. They're okay teams who are off to inconsistent starts but have enough talent to pull forward and have a winning record in not too long. The Blue Jays are on 10-9, the Reds are on 9-9, and the Padres are on 11-10. This is what I mean. Absolutely fine teams with fine players who are middling but just need to find that consistent balance. They have put the Cubs at 10th. This is a contention that I swap around. The Cubs are 10th with 11-7, and the Diamondbacks are 9th with 9-9. Sorry, 9-10. They've not got off to the best start, and again, they're another team that is just finding their feet, getting some consistency going. They will become the second best team in the National League West. That's to be expected. But they haven't shown what you would expect from a World Series runner-up so far. World Series champions, Texas Rangers are 8 with a record of 10-9. The Brewers are 7th. The Phillies are 6th. The Rays are 5th. And we move into the top 4. We move into the top 4 where it is considered to be the favourites. Number 4, from the American League East, with a record of 12-6, it is the Baltimore Orioles. A fantastic team, fantastic young team. They are doing extremely well with their young players. Jackson Holliday's finally come up. Adley Rutschman's doing very well. Colton Cowser is doing very well. Gunnar Henderson is still performing at his high level. I just think they're a very, very good team. They're a very, 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 very good team. I had them in the World Series in my preseason predictions. Nothing has changed from that, apart from loyalty to another team, which we'll get onto in a minute. They're a brilliant team. And as long as they keep up this pace, they're probably going to win the American League East, or at very least become the top wildcard team in the American League. Tied second are the Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Atlanta Braves have a record of 12-5. The Dodgers have 12-9. Mookie Betts is on pace for 15 WAR. Shohei Ohtani has a OPS of 1,000. they're obviously a fantastic team, but there's something about them, and I can't put my finger on it. Cannot put my finger on exactly what it is. That doesn't, in my mind, have them above the Braves just yet. I think the Braves have an established team with established players. Ronald Acuna Jr. finally hit his first home run of the season last night, and yes, Mookie Betts is the best player in the league at the moment. Certainly the best player in the National League. Shohei Ohtani is doing Shohei Ohtani things with the bat. Pitching, not amazing, not fantastic. They lost their last game against the Nationals. They lost their last game against the Nationals 2-0, 2-0. Actually on a 3-game losing run. Lost twice against the Nationals and then against the San Diego Padres. They only won one game against the Padres. Not been a great couple of days for them. Not been a great couple of days for the Dodgers. And I think what's harming the Dodgers is the preseason expectation of them, which is understandable considering the offseason they had. Tyler Glasnow is a magician. He's a fantastic player. Shohei Ohtani is a wonderful, wonderful player. Yamamoto hasn't gotten off to the start that people expected him to, and that's absolutely fine. They will come good. These players will come good. But I've not seen anything at the moment that has made me go, with the exception of Mookie Betts, to make me go, these are a World Series winning team. I know it's very early, and I know it's extremely early to say this, but there's just something about this lineup that makes me go, not quite there, Chief. Not quite doing it for me there. I have to give it some time, but right now I'm not sold on them. I'm more sold on the Braves. I'm more sold on the Orioles. The Dodgers aren't doing it for me. They're not tickling the belly right now. Tell you who is. It's the number one ranked team in the Athletics power rankings, the New York Yankees. More specifically, Juan Soto and Anthony Volpe. Goodness gracious me. They picked up a win last night against the Blue Jays, and a much-needed win to avoid being swept in the series. It was the first time they've lost a series and dropped a series this season. Again, there's many things that we can address about the Yankees. The bullpen needs serious work. It's usually been the best and strongest part of the Yankees team for the past couple of years, and now it's just not. It just isn't there. The starting pitching is spotty, but Juan Soto has been a fantastic player. Best player in the American League. The second best player in the American League defensively anyway. Actually, no, I'll take it back. Anthony Volpe's not. He made a bobble in a game not too long ago, and it almost cost him the game. But he has been fantastic so far this season. A wonderful player to watch at the plate. He has been, he was a Gold Glove at shortstop last year, and I kind of tongue-in-cheek said about the bobble that his defending hasn't been great. More often than not, it's been very, very good, as shown in the play to get the final out last night against the Blue Jays. Fantastic stop, fantastic catch, fantastic defensive player. Just needs to iron out a couple of the errors in big situations like him and Glaber had, and you'll get there. Judge started off a bit slowly, but he's still managing to get some hits when needed. Stanton, I think, has done a lot better than a lot of people expected. Alex Verdugo hasn't been amazing, but the difference is when you've replaced Jake Bauers with Alex Verdugo looks like an absolute superstar. The vibes of the team seem very good. Jason Dominguez is going to come back in. Spencer Jones will end up getting called up maybe towards the end of the season, next season. Very, very good team. Anthony Rizzo at first base hasn't been great. Oswaldo Cabrera has been amazing so far. He's really surprised me with what he's done, and I've been a massive fan of his so far. But DJ LeMahieu's going to come back. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. I wouldn't be against putting him at first, to be perfectly honest. Give Rizzo some days off and just get yourself better. Get yourself, taking some ground balls, getting some practice in, and just feeling the game again. Because Rizzo's great. I really like Rizzo both as a clubhouse guy and as a player. But clearly, just not feeling it at the moment. Maybe need some time off. All of that kind of stuff. The catcher situation hasn't been awful. I quite like Austin Wells. And Jose Trevino came up with a big hit against the Blue Jays as well. They've got that good rotation going on. All of this without their ace. All of this without Garrett Cole, who is expected to be back in June. And I seriously hope he is, because I want to play against the Dodgers, because I'm going to be there. There is a more improved approach to hitting with the team. There is smarter plays being played. Davis Horace has been a black hole in the lineup. He's not been very good at all, but he showed last year he has the talent. It's a contract year, so he's going to want to do well. I have faith in him to turn it around. I have faith in this Yankees team. I tweet when they win, tongue in cheek, as a laugh, winning the lot. But with every win that comes, and every time I see them play, there's something in the back of my head that makes me go, you know what? They might do. They might just do it. They might just make the World Series, and you never know what's going to happen. That being said, I think the consistency will be a thing to watch throughout the season. Right now, we know what the Baltimore Orioles can do. We know what the Braves can do. They have more settled teams. The Yankees are in a similar situation to the Dodgers, in my opinion, but they've got some new players in, and there's a bit of an expectation around those new players, and they are delivering, but it's up to everybody else around them to help them win more games, which is great because the Yankees currently lead the American League East with a record of 13-6. Absolutely brilliant. That's been reacting to the Athletics MLB Power Rankings here on Let's Talk Baseball. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll get some clips up on social media so more people can watch than ever before. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Remember to like the video, comment about any things that you noticed or want to discuss. Subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.